Kevin Sebek, Chief Safety Officer for S3 Consultants, and we're up to Module 3. And now the work really begins. Most of the previous three modules, 0, 1, and 2, were background information to get you started. But now the work begins. And we start with gap analysis procedures. As always, the agenda slide, it will guide you through the module. And as always, I won't be reading the slides to you. I'll be providing helpful information and other tips to help guide you through your SMS journey. All right, let's get started. All right, slide 1 of the module, Part 5, SMS gap analysis. So this is actually the second step of the process. The first step is doing an organizational description. And I would use ChatGPT to do it, and I would write a paragraph explaining your operation if you have a DOM, DOO, so that it helps ChatGPT. It will get stuck on the 4 pillars. You're just going to have to delete that later. Don't try and steer it off of it. It'll just make it harder. So I will read this. The definition of a gap analysis is a method used to identify the difference between the company's current performance and its desired future performance. You already know what you need to do. The FAA has mandated it. There is a basic template in the Advisory Circular 120-92 Delta, and then there's a standalone for single pilot operation. The only difference is that they line out what the single pilot operation is. What you can do is you can do a number of things, print that out, keep it as a guide. You're supposed to kind of preserve some of the documentation of what you've done. And then, kind of the open area, cut it up into a couple blocks or whatever so you can take notes. One of the things the gap analysis does is provides you with the building blocks to develop on an action plan and roadmap for developing your Part 5 SMS. And again, if you have nothing, you're starting from scratch. So good luck. All right, so how best to do the gap analysis. If you don't know how to do a gap analysis, you might want to read up on a little bit. And what it does is it provides you with a basic plan. So, if you use the Google and you find someone who will tell you how to do a gap analysis, it's usually for business, IT, accounting, or finance. But the basic steps are good, and you should probably follow that. The first one, define a scope. Well, the FAA did that for you, so that's all done. Identify your current state, and that's what you use the form. You kind of go down and look at what you're doing as compared to what it says you're supposed to be doing on the form. And this is where you leverage, take credit for things you're already doing that align with the Part 5 standards. Again, don't reinvent the wheel. Again, the hard part again is analyzing the gap and not trying to do too much to make it fit. Because that's where the struggle is. If you're already doing something but it doesn't align with Part 5, now you got to figure out how to steer it to align with Part 5. And here's the biggest tip. Set aside some time every week to work on it. Otherwise, it'll never get done. And that's the biggest thing. If you don't set aside some time, you'll just keep putting it off. Something will become more important, some higher priority item. You just have to grind it out, set aside some time, and do it. Then, of course, implement and monitor, execute the action plan, because that's what you're developing from your gap analysis. And as I said in the previous module, safety policy is the template or the strategic plan for your SMS. So you want to get that done first. And then if you have a GOM or a GMM or other manuals, I would go into safety assurance next, because you want to check and make sure your systems are working. So you want to get that going as soon as you can. And remember, those documents have to be saved for 5 years. Analyze the gap. So for those of you who've ever been to Britain or a former Crown colony and have ridden the subway or any type of train system, the ubiquitous mind the gap. So I thought I'd throw in the analyze the gap, just a little bit of bad humor. So my personal take on it, you have to look at what you're doing now with an existing SMS and see how to make compliance easy. Make it easy, so then the employees will comply with it. If you make it easy, then the employees are like, oh, that's not that hard, I can do it. Don't make it hard. Start simple. Again, mature your SMS. That's my take on analyzing the gap. And this is from experience because where I came from, the place I retired out of, pretty complex organization, and so it was a complex system. And so we spent a lot of time struggling with how to make it easy on the employees in order to make sure they would do it. So again, make it easy. That's the biggest thing. And then the second biggest thing is, you already got an SMS, and you got the round peg trying to fit in the square hole. And that was a struggle too, because we were 135 had OpSpec A025, so we had electronic documentation of all this stuff already. However, it was handmade, homegrown. And that was a struggle because we had to make some of this fit, had to go back through and fix, reprogram, do coding in order to fix the system to make it work. And then that's a big word of advice. If you don't have anything, then it's easy. You can design it to whatever you want to do. And then the second part is, getting the accountable executive and the certificated management positions on board, because technically they're the ones who have to do it. All right, thanks. Moving on. I'm going to focus on don't be too complex. Start with the basic requirement and mature the program from there. But if you do it, you have to stick to it. And remember, you can't forego anything unless you're a sole pilot or single pilot organization. And then that gap will be down below. So that gap analysis form will be down below, so you can pull it off and look at it. And as I said, recommend safety assurance next after safety policy. And don't necessarily need to do all of safety policy up front, because one of them is the ERP. If you got an ERP, you might want to save that for later, especially when you start addressing interfaces. So those two, you can amend or change those two at the same time. And then develop the action plan. And what we did was we were able to get a copy of the DCTs, and on it, and plus a much more robust gap analysis plan that came on an Excel spreadsheet through the voluntary program. And then, we would put what we're going to change, the gap, how we're going to change it to make it align with the SMS requirement, when we're going to do it, who is going to do it, and then in the manual paragraph and where it was located and what it said, because that's the biggest thing. When the FAA comes to do surveillance, they're going to ask you where in the manual did you align with the Part 5 SMS. So that's the biggest thing you got to do. And again, I'm hitting on, you got to keep it for training processes and other documents, keep for 24 months, and safety assurance for 5 years. So just understand you're going to be saving some stuff. All right, important considerations. And this is right out of the AC 120 TAC 92 Delta, paragraph 4.2.3. Take credit for processes already meeting Part 5 requirements, including Part 5 SMS processes by third-party vendors, products, or services. So if you got the old WBAT SMS program, or if you're using something from Baldwin, if their processes are aligned with Part 5, then take credit for it. And if you're using, I forgot, it's Fusion Safety now, but it used to be WBAT. If you're using their program, then it already aligns because it's coming from a contractor who's working with the FAA. Organizational commitment, you got to have everybody on board, especially the DOO and DOM, because there's no need to hire, if you're small, there's no need to hire a director of safety or safety manager. You just need to get the process embedded, and the DOO and DOM do it. Employee engagement, again, make compliance easy. The easier you make it, the more they'll do it. It depends on how many employees you have, but the more you have, the more easier you're going to make it. And then regular reviews. You have to set up doing it every week, and then you need to have someone checking on it. And so that was the benefit of the SMS voluntary program at the time. We're able to meet with our local FAA FSDO SMS rep every 2 weeks to discuss progress. So it made due dates because like, oh, I got to get this done before the next meeting. And it was kind of, self-regulating in that fact. And so either the accountable executive can play the role of the FAA FSDO SMS rep where you meet with them every 2 weeks to make sure things are getting done. If you're a small mom and pop, you're just going to have to grind it out. I don't know what to tell you. Or you can hire us and we'll come and help you. And we'll check on you. Probably don't want to do every 2 weeks, but we'll be at ACAA and you can talk to us there or drop us a link or drop us an email. I just pulled out the first 4 SMS Part 5 requirements for safety policy, and this is off of the standalone form for single pilot organizations, and as you can see, they lined it out. However, it's still there. And then what you can do is take those location and reference areas, you can cut them up into smaller pieces. Eventually, one spot has to be where is it located in your SMS and the reference. So it's however you number or however you parse out the paragraphs in your SMS you're going to build. It's like paragraph A, subparagraph B, something like that, A.B, just like the way the FAA and government writes manuals. So, and then you could also put in, here's the gap, here's the action plan, here's when it's due, and then the location and reference. And you can do it all on this paper. You just got to write small or blow it up or take the whole thing, put it on an Excel spreadsheet, and then put 4 more areas or 4 more columns in order to do it. But that's my recommendation, and that's after doing it twice, that seemed to work really well. But do what works for you, make compliance easy, and take credit for what you're already doing. So I threw some extra stuff in the questions box here. If you got any questions, well, we'll talk about it after. I recommend you keep the completed gap analysis tool, regardless of its format, so you can show that you followed and completed the steps of the advisory circular. If you have a YouTube account, sign in, subscribe, and like, and ask questions. And then if I'm not out fishing too much, I'll answer them. But for the most part, I check and see if anybody's asking questions. As always, if you want more content, subscribe and like. That way someone else pays the bill. Everybody likes free stuff. If you need help, shoot us an email or call, and we can guide you through some of the process and make recommendations or provide some service that can help you complete the regulatory compliance of having this SMS. All right, that ends that module. For setting expectations, we're going to start with safety policy on the next one. And I gave you the first 4 we're going to talk about, and we'll talk about the whole first paragraph or first subsection of the safety policy in the next module. All right, talk to you then. Get to work. Talk to you later. Bye.